We also have from the Corps several other gentlemen, two in particular, Daryl Buxton, who is the project manager for the Cambria desal plant, and Mr. Tom Keeney, who is the senior ecologist in the Corps' LA District Office. Colonel, you're here somewhere, I know. Oh, you're back there. Colonel, I want to, first of all, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for your service to Cambria. I'd like to turn it over to you for the presentation.
How about now? He mentioned that I graduated from West Point. I also have a master's degree in environmental engineering from the University of Texas.
Go Longhorns.
Mentioned that they're just a few weeks away from a national championship in football.
I like the confidence.
I am happy for this opportunity. Can you tell me how much time we have for this discussion?
Colonel, the time is yours as much as you feel you need. I'm sure we're going to have some questions from members in the audience. I understand that you have a flight to catch this afternoon for Phoenix, Arizona, so given your schedule, I would say we'll go till about 1:15.
Okay, just keep me on schedule here, because I am very passionate about what we do in the Army Corps of Engineers. I heard a news report as I was watching the news this morning about actions that are moving through the Senate now have to do with a rewrite of the Clean Water Act, and which has direct impacts on the responsibilities of the Army Corps of Engineers and how we manage that program. We are watching very carefully the flood issues in Los Angeles, where we've had the rains and concerns about the burned area. We are very much involved in the stimulus funds that are accounting for a number of our efforts that range from support to the VA, to military construction, to this project here. And I say this because I love my job. I think I have the best job I will ever have in my life. And I love the way that it requires us to demonstrate an appropriate balance in what we do. You know, there are other federal agencies who are necessarily focused on a single component of a program or a project. They may be specifically focused on environmental protection. They may be specifically focused on the forest, fish, whatever it is. Our responsibility is to find that balance, and it is very interesting. The administration is redoing what is called our principles and guidelines in the Corps of Engineers, which is the overriding document for how do you determine which projects get funds, what's a priority for the Corps of Engineers to be involved. And in the past, that priority has gone to those projects with economic benefits, and it was that trumped all other issues, were there economic benefits. And the recent principles and guidelines, it's in draft form, available for public comment, requires a balance between economic benefits and the environment. And I think what you will see from the Corps of Engineers are projects that will be prioritized because they strike that balance, that they do not necessarily have one component or the other, but are those projects that necessarily have that sort of win-win. And finally, just by way of introduction, I would tell you I have a personal and a professional interest in this project. I'm an environmental engineer. Water resources is my background. I also am an accredited professional for LEED, which is Sustainable Construction and Design, and I believe with everything that I can bring to a project that there is such a thing as win-win, that when you are doing anything, it ought to be not just how do we minimize or mitigate damages. It is how do we create the conditions where multiple requirements are satisfied, that we can enhance and sustain the environment at the same time that we are solving some of our nation's water resource problems. So the old core of let's fix something and create another problem as we go, which is part of our legacy. I mean, we certainly applied the best science and engineering of the day, but as part of our legacy, you know, would we build the LA River the same way as it's built today? You know, maybe, maybe not. But certainly we're learning as we go, which brings me to, if you would, it's kind of odd. I feel like I'm at Cowboy Stadium. Have you seen that big jumbotron here? It's like no one looks at the game anymore. You look at the TV screen, and I'm gonna run through a few slides, and I'll also ask Darrell to fill in a few gaps when we get to some of the specifics that I think he could better address, and talk to you about where we are on this project and the way forward. So go ahead to the next slide. A little bit on the background. If you understand the Corps of Engineers, there's nothing that we do in the Corps that does not have two components. We have to be specifically authorized to be involved in a project. That authorization comes through a Water Resources Development Act piece of legislation, WRDA, specifically authorized to be involved, and then we have to receive dollars in order to meet those commitments. So an authorization for this project was created in 1992, and there's been further amendments, and essentially it authorized the Corps of Engineers to address water infrastructure here. The authorization gave a limit to the amount that was $10.3 million. These types of projects are cost-shared between the federal government and a local sponsor, and that cost share is 75%, 25%. So the federal piece is $10.3 million as it currently stands. And so when we signed an agreement here, it was for an estimated cost at the time of $13.7 million, I believe is the number I have. So we are authorized for a desalination infrastructure project. Total project cost $13.7 million, and we don't have all $10.3 million. I'll show you how much we have and where it's gone. But to date, the total amount would be $10.3 million. Now, in 2007, the Water Resource Development Act had specific language for this project that would allow for credit for some of the previous planning and design efforts. It's clear that we are somewhat late to the rodeo, if you will, in the Corps of Engineers, that you all, as a community, have been thinking about water longer than we have, and that some of those efforts for planning and design that you all have put forward, some of them are creditable. That as we look at what is required in order to deliver this project, as you've done the site investigations, a number of detailed engineering components can be credited because we need that information for a future project. Not all of them, but some of them, and we've been in an effort of accounting for all of those. The legislation allows for up to $3 million of credit, and that credit would be part of that 25% match, and which is a very good thing, as you can imagine. If you would much rather be credited for dollars that have already been spent as opposed to having to come up with new cash for that 25% match. So we are working hard to do the auditing on that on that possible credit. So let's go to the next slide. The phases of this project, what initiated